Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Uncommon Rapport with Common Ground. We have such elated guests on tonight. I'm talking about the feature artist for this Saturday's event, NatureBoyyQue. We have my co-host, Gabe Marquez, and we also have Nigel. Truth Out the Bag podcast and Truth Out the Bag radio station. So here we are, guys. I'm about to let everybody chime.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Nature Boy.
What's good? This your girl Divine Life, Truth Out the Bag podcast. I'm so happy to be here.
So, what we typically do, you guys, is once we get the show started, we do a thing called. Well, this is kind of new. It's like one episode new, but we do this thing called to speak, but it's more like current events. So it's not really a word on the street. It's more like things that is happening that we as young people can expound upon or give our thoughts because I feel like the millennial generation, no shade to nobody else, we are the most opinionated group of people. We have
Mhm.
opinions. We let it be known. We ask why. We are one of the first groups of generations to ask why to our parents. Um, so with that being said, there's a lot of things happening in the world today, especially in the United States of America. Did y'all hear about the new Facebook name that's going to happen?
Yeah.
That
No, I didn't hear. I didn't hear about it.
No, I haven't heard about it. Please fill
word on the
me in.
street, word on the street. Per Facebook News, is the Facebook name will be changed from Facebook, as we so affectionately known it as for so long, to Meta.
Mm.
Um, and according to that article I saw, it's the man Mark's his goal is to his ambition is to, I guess, metaverse. And because Facebook is the mother of all social media, not, I think MySpace was first. I don't know who was first, MySpace or Facebook, but because Facebook currently is the mother of all social media, it's changing its name to Meta to suit where it's supposed to be going. What are your thoughts on that?
Mm.
Do you feel like they should change the name? Should they keep it? It's going to change. He's changing it anyway. But while we here, us opinionated millennials, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like he should change it? What, or you feel like it's a good or bad thing? I mean, what do you think? What's up?
You said the name is being changed to what now again?
Meta, I think.
Meta.
Meta.
Mm.
Oh wow.
META.
Mm.
Mm.
That name is I don't know. I don't know if that name is gonna be so becoming for a lot of
Meta.
people. Like I don't
Mm.
even know what that stands for. Like what is that?
Well, I think around the word meta, you have metaphysics, you have metacognition. Um, and if you look at Facebook, if you think about Facebook and how it causes you to think would be somewhat of a metacognition because you're thinking about your thinking in a sense.
Mm.
So I guess that's why we're having this conversation tonight, you know, with the home team, Mr. Gabriel Curry, Nigel Matt, and Mr. Nature Boy Q. We in
Yes,
here
sir.
tonight. What do you guys think about being able to think the thoughts that you have and actually manifest them?
Mm.
I
Um.
believe it's displayed right here before us.
Yes, sir.
So we're utilizing the platform. They're just changing the name.
Yes, sir.
That's a good
I
point.
yeah. I think I think that the name changing the name is it's different. It's definitely gonna be different. Obviously. Um. I also think too though. And like I think Nigel alluded to earlier. She was saying about the name and not knowing what it means and what it stands for, represents.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times things around us often change. Names for things often change a lot of times. And I don't think that we put enough emphasis or enough thought into what we're actually naming things. I guess to make it a little more um to natural as opposed to the internet or social media. Like even kids, like a lot of times people name their kids things, you know, and they don't really realize what those names mean, you know. And I feel like names are manifestation. As Kevin said earlier, like not to get too biblical too early into it, but I was just thinking about Jacob in the Bible. Um, you know, his name meant trickster, and that kind of manifested in the course of his life in the beginning. You know, he started to manifest, what his name meant. And I think a lot of times we don't really understand that. So we'll just put names to things. And I feel like that's why it's super important, to be cognizant of what names we put on things. Because names are a form of manifestation, in my opinion. Yeah.
To where I began, just to give a little background on the actual word meta. I'm reading the definitions of it right now. One definition is denoting a change of position or condition, denoting position behind, after, or beyond, denoting something of a higher or second order kind. So those are some of the definitions
Mm-hmm.
of what the word meta actually means. And his goal is to have some sort of metaverse. His ambition is he see this big metaverse. And so that in and of itself, like he was talking about the name change, the name in general, and how we attend to apply names to things.
Mm-hmm.
You're so
Facebook
right. You're
is
so
a
dead
name.
on.
Yeah.
Facebook was the name, and
Mm-hmm.
it did what it served its purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it has a greater purpose, and I feel like that's too for me. Of course, to me, I have a marketing kind of mind, so I
Okay.
don't think the word meta works for a social media platform because it's like meta what? Because like a lot of times they have beta testing, so it's like meta. What are we getting ready to do? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, it just doesn't work as a good marketing tool. But Facebook don't have to market anything. Facebook again is a mother of social media, so they can change the name and it'll be fine. So I am okay with the name change because I'm one of those people that like change. So if change is good, I'm all for it. I ain't never been the type to be like, I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to change it up because I don't want nothing different because I don't know if it's gonna work. I would never been that type. So you know, um, that was just something. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, Nigel?
Well, for me, since you gave that definition, I feel like it has helped to put things in proper perspective. Now, I'm so glad we're talking about this because my name, Nigel, stands for champion. And I feel like my life has been indicative of me overcoming and conquering so many different challenges that I've had to face, in particular with my health. I'm still fighting, but by the grace of God, I'm still here. Amen. So I really believe that the name itself is so important. Like when people hear your name, like that's the first thing that's going to stick with them. And then, of course, they want to know what it means. So I think with that change, I don't care for the name because of the fact that it's not a good marketing from a marketing standpoint. But as far as the whole goal that they have in mind of creating this continuous change, I feel like it fits that in and of itself. So yeah, like naming is very important for real. And just the whole manifestation, like what you thinking, it coming to fruition, like that's here now. Like we talked about it a little bit yesterday, like we all spoke a lot of things before it was even seen. And so I think that's so important that we continue to speak things by faith, for real. Like, it's so important. So that's my thoughts on it.
Very, very good. And it brings a lot. I'm the kind of person when I listen, I hear other things. So, I'm not going to prolong that particular part of this segment. We're going to drop it here. But you guys, names are very important. That's where I was going with it. So I'm kind of glad we got to this part. But names are very important. Be careful what you decide to name your children. Be careful what you decide to name your business, what you decide to give yourself as a name, especially with artists. Names is very important, because not only that, you have power behind your words. So you don't want to speak death, into a place where life needs to be. So just be careful, you guys, because names and your words are important.
So let me ask you, Nature Boy, what actually caused you to endow the name of Nature Boy?
Okay. So I'm as I speak here tonight, and a little bit last night as we were talking, and I've matured a lot since I've come up with that name. So I didn't put a lot of thought into it. Actually, I'm a big wrestling fan, professional wrestling fan, and so one of the biggest and most popular wrestlers at the time was the Nature Boy Ric Flair, um, and so I kind of wanted to use that moniker, to borrow that moniker. I used two Y's on the back of mine instead of the one, um, just to be different, but also because of the charisma, and I think, and as I think about it now, I think I was always a very charismatic child, like always very colorful. My personality is always super bright. And when I would see Ric Flair on TV, like that would be one of the things, you know, that would stand out. And I feel like that's one of the things that made him super popular. Is the fact that he was super, like, he was just wild and just like really really charismatic, really really colorful personality. And I feel like those are some of the qualities that I have in myself. And so I just kind of my love for wrestling, and then seeing somebody who had those qualities that I have, um, kind of made me lean toward grabbing that, or and using it. Yeah.
That was amazing. Like, I was also a wrestling fan. Like, when you said that, I said, "Hey, Ric Flair." We all know about him. But I was more into,
Woo!
Stone Cold Steve Austin and the Undertaker and them. But that's just me. I do have other questions. So now that we're here and we're talking about you as an artist, understanding that your name, if you're just joining in, this is the Common Rapport podcast, and we are interviewing Nature Boy with two Y's.
Yes, sir.
So Nature Boy, what inspires you to start?
Um, so I guess to keep it as short as possible. Um, I started off writing poems. I was a poet for I don't know, for as long as I can remember writing anything. I was jotting little poems and things like that. Um, and then later on in life, my brother kind of introduced me to rap, and my brother was actually also a producer in the Charlotte area, and so I started, he's introduced me into rap or whatever, and I started just kind of taking my poems and trying to use them and fit them to instrumentals and things like that. And as I started doing that, I started just playing it for different people. Now playing for my brother, and just different people. And they would be like, okay, man, that don't sound too bad. And so as I got older and I got in high school or whatever, and then I started seeing people actually like do it, like not. I mean, I started seeing people who had been doing it for a while, and so I was like, oh, I can really, we can make something out of this. Like, people, there's an opportunity here to do something, and so I just started kind of developing my skills. I started working with my brother and learning how to do producing, production, and learning how to make beats and all of that stuff. And so in that time, as I started doing that, then I started to be able to rap on my own beats. And I was like, okay, this is cool, you know. And then I stopped for a while. And my reason for stopping, well, I'm pretty sure we'll get into it later. Just like I said, not to make it too long of an answer.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it right now.
Okay. Well, so I stopped for a while, and the reason that I stopped, was because, you know, when you grow up in church, and I'm a church kid. Actually, yeah, I grew up in church all my life. And so when you grow up in church, you know, and I don't know about anybody else, but like Pentecostal churches, apostolic, like when you there's this thing, you know, that sometimes we associate everything that's not, you know, that's not quote unquote, I guess, that doesn't have God all over it. You know, a lot of times we associate those things with sin and with bad stuff and with, you know, and so we don't really close those gaps between, you know, between us and the people of the world who we have to reach. You know,
Okay.
we don't close those gaps because we deem those things, okay, well, that's not of God, so we ain't gonna mess with it. You know?
Oh, wow.
And so some of the people in my church kind of feel like, okay, that's not, you know, you can't do that. That's not right. We ain't gonna do that. That goes against God, or, you know, whatever. And so it kind of gave me a complex of like, yo, okay, so maybe I can do this. You know, like, this is a gift. Okay, God gave me this gift, and this is a gift. You know, everybody can't do this. You know, but I can. But I can't use it because it goes against, you know, him and his standards based off what I was being told. And so I stopped. And when I stopped, I was just producing. Then I just started producing. So I started producing projects for people and started producing songs for people. And I was like, okay, I'm cool just doing the producing thing. And a friend of mine, I was producing his entire album. And I wrote a song while I was in the middle of just producing, you know, his album. I made a beat and I wrote a song and I played it for him. And he was like, man, like, we need to go record it. So I'm like, cool, all right, we go record it. And we went to an actual studio, which is the studio that I recorded now, Arcadia Studios in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Shouts out to Arcadia.
Yes, sir. And so once we recorded it, you know, I started, you know, letting people hear it, and people started going like people were like, oh man, like, this is super dope. Like, this is cool. This is dope. This is dope. This is fire. I like it. And to me, I was like, okay. So it made me look at things differently because I started to understand, you know, I started at that time, I started to understand closing the gaps, you know, like closing, like I said earlier, closing the gap between,
yes, sir,
you know, us and the people that we have to reach. And when I saw, you know, that people who didn't believe like I believe, you know, or people who didn't live the lifestyle that I live, were gravitating toward what I was doing, and it was still authentically me. Then
yes, sir,
it clicked to me. Okay, so I can take this thing, you know, I can take this gift that I have, you know, and I can use it to close those gaps and reach those people.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And
wow.
Like, and so that's when I really started to like really go full force in it. And that was just like maybe like less than a year ago, like probably 8 or 9, maybe 10 months ago is when I actually really started. Man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so, like I said, that the journey for me has been a tumultuous one. It has been a difficult one at times. But now that I see, you know, see what it's supposed to do. And I guess we'll get into this also later on. But like the single that I just released on the 17th of October, Back and Forth. I had a friend of mine. She sent me a message, and she told me that my song made her cry. You know, and it was like, and again, it's somebody who doesn't lead the lifestyle that I lead. You know, and so for me, I could see, I feel those gaps starting to close. You know, I feel people starting to see, okay, yeah, your music ain't got this in it or don't have that in it. It's not what we normally listen to, but I still can feel it and I still get something from it. And honestly, what they feel and what they get from it, without them knowing that that's what they get from it, is the Spirit of God. Yes. You know what I mean? Yes, sir. Yeah. So I hope I kind of answered it and wasn't too long with it, the answer.
No, sir, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Let's keep the conversation going. You said something about being your authentic self while creating the music. And how important is it to be authentic while creating the music and during that process?
Super, 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 super important. For me, I feel like, well, I'm saying for me, because you're talking to me, but I feel like as artists in general, I think the one thing that we have missing in music a lot of times, and in rap music especially, um, is it's a lot of inauthenticity. If I
Talk
Mm-hmm.
said
about
that
it,
word right,
bro.
like
Yeah.
like everything kind of starts to sound the same, you know,
Mm.
and and
Mm.
and a lot of times it's because we as people sometimes, and especially us of color, you know, when you have people that's in these type of in these forms of music, and they come from places where there's not a lot. And when I say not a lot, I mean like poverty. I mean not a lot financially, not a lot of
Mm-hmm.
opportunity.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, a lot of times we try to latch on to what works so we can make money as quick as we possibly can. You know,
Oh, wow.
and
Talk to him.
and
Talk
I
to him.
understand that. I understand that that's the that's the thing, because we all want to build a life for ourselves. We if you live in the ghetto, in the hood, you want to get out. You know what I mean? You want to get out. And
That
if
is
you
the
see,
mentality.
yes sir, absolutely.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
you see, that, okay, I can make a hit song and sound like this artist or sound like that artist, and they're gonna fly. Not because they like me, or not because they like what I have to say, but because they like this artist and I sound like this artist. So they're gonna listen to that too, because it's in the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times that's what happens in music. And which is why, you have so many artists that sound alike. And I think for me, to be authentic is the most important thing, because the authenticity is the to me, it's the difference between longevity, you know, and making us a one hit wonder, or making one song or two songs that last for,
Mm.
however long it lasts. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
sir.
when,
Yes,
when you
sir.
start to talk about artists like a Jay-Z, for instance, or like a Beyonce,
Thinking
for instance.
about
I'm just using these artists, like, but they came in and they did something completely different. Or even a T-Pain, which if we can, because he's one of my inspirations, just because when he came in to do music, it was completely different. Nobody had heard anything like that prior to him. Like, not on like an entire body of work. Nobody's heard it. Nobody had heard that since, prior to him. And so when he came in with something so different, and he took his time and studied it, and he made it authentically himself. And when he came in, it blew up. Like it was one of, like, it became his own thing. But that's because he did something that was different. And so I think and he's still around now doing it. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the difference. When you be yourself, people gonna feel you. People gonna rock with you. I remember having a
Absolutely.
conversation with a friend of mine about a song that we did and put on the internet, and it was a love song, and it was a rap song, but it was a love song. And I told him, I was like, dude, I was like, man. And when we recorded it, a video of us, performing it or whatever, and we put it on Facebook, and it got so many likes and shares and everything, and people was rocking with it. And I said, bro, I said, when I did this song, I said, I really honestly thought nobody was gonna rock with it, because I was talking about love from a spiritual perspective, without saying God a whole bunch of times or anything like that. But I was speaking on love from a spiritual perspective, from a Christian perspective, from a godly perspective. So I'm like, ain't nobody gonna listen to this right here, you know. But when
Mm-hmm.
people started listening to it and rocking with it and was liking it, I was like, I don't think that they realize, back to what I said earlier, I don't think they realize what they're getting. They're getting the spirit of God without realizing they're getting it. You know what I mean? And so I think me being authentic, and me deciding, okay, I'm gonna put God in everything I do. I may not say His name. I may not quote a whole bunch of scriptures in all my songs. But that spirit that comes along with living a consecrated, a sanctified life, you're gonna feel it. you know. And so for me, that's super important, because that gives people the opportunity to grasp a hold of something, you know. And I think Nigel said it earlier. She said it a couple of times, even yesterday. That's going to give them a chance to reach something that's not destructive. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we see music, and our music is so destructive. It tears down, and it speaks damnation and destruction. It puts damnation and destruction into the world. You know, but how about if we give people something that, number one, that they're gonna like to listen to, but also that's going to give them something different from what they're used to listening to, you know. And that's kind of been my formula. Like I'll take the style of beats that y'all, you know, that people make, and the style of beats that they like, and the cadences that they like, uh but I'll give them what God gives me over what they already like and what they already listen to. You know what I mean?
That's
And so,
amazing, man. That is so amazing, bro. That is absolutely amazing, brother.
yes, sir.
You've heard it here first where this dear brother, he takes the uh the cadence of maybe a sound that we don't necessarily listen to at our everyday local worship center,
Mm-hmm.
and utilizes it for the kingdom of God because
Yes,
of
sir.
the lyrics and the authenticity that he puts into his music on a consistent basis. He realized that he's different. His name was chosen because he's different. And it's natural for him to be that way. Nature Boy. Q, you heard it here first, guys.
Yes,
Tied
sir.
in. Yeah, yeah. I was
You've heard
thinking
it here
about that the
first,
whole time.
guys.
I was thinking about
You've
it the
heard
whole
it
time.
here first from a youngster. Tell him how old are you, man?
I'm 24 years old. I'll be 25.
24 years old.
Yep, I'll be 25 on the 12th of November. Yep.
That's
Man.
dope, man.
Yes,
Like
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
that's so dope. You hit so much in just that little short while. Like it's so important that we don't ride the wave and don't sound like everybody else. Like one thing that I'm big on as far as what I look for in the artist, like you gotta be creative, you gotta be diverse, and you have to be original. Like that's so important because I hear a lot of artists, like a lot of rappers of today, and they all sound alike. I can't distinguish little Dirk. I think that's his name. That's his name, Dirk.
I think it's
Dirt.
Little Dirk. He changing it
There
probably
is a
Dirk.
dirt.
Okay, from the baby, little baby to Rod Wave. To me, it's like I'm like everybody sounds the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in the 90s and 2000s, that era of music. And of course, man, we know that that's one of the greatest times of music.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I grew up listening to
Uh,
uh Cash Money, you know, Juvenile, Master P, you
Mm-hmm.
know, man, Mace and P Diddy, you know, Bad Boy, you know, like just even Ludacris and you know Jermaine Dupri. But all of these artists, you could hear the distinction, you could hear the difference between all of them. They all
Mm-hmm.
had their own sound, and today it's just like a lot of people riding a wave. And when you hit it like, man, listen, like me and my crew coming up, especially with that Christian rap, it was not well received at first. It was not well received. I grew up
Mm-hmm.
in a Baptist church, and to be honest, a traditional Baptist church. And so, of course, when they was like rap, like, oh no, you
Mm-hmm.
can't come in here and do no rap. I'm like, it's Christian rap. What you mean? It's glorifying God for real. But they were a little standoffish. But once they got a chance to experience and hear the message, because see, I think that's important that the message of what we're trying to convey is really
Mm-hmm.
carry forth. You know, mind you, we may present that with different styles and flavors, but as long as that message is solid, people will rock with it. Because when
Yep.
we would go out and minister to different churches, ministries, the older people, like now, if you can get the older people to receive you, you know, like, hey, you want to something.
or
And we had
something. Mm-hmm.
a different sound. It was not like what was being heard in that time. And I truly believe that when we really press into God and we allow the Spirit of the Lord to really lead us, even in our creativity process as we're writing, I'm telling you, it'll just flow. It'll just flow. It will just flow like to the
Yeah.
point that you don't even have time to even write nothing down. The words just coming out, the beat dropping, and you just start hearing words and you just start saying those words. So it's like, man, listen, you hit on some things that's so key, that's so important. And I'm glad that you chose to be who God has called you to be. You're not trying to be like nobody else. Like that's so important. So glad you touched on that, bro.
Yes. And even to like what you were saying just now, I was thinking as you were saying that, you know, I think a lot of times I mean, don't kick me off of here, guys. Like, but church people and Christians are some of the weirdest people because
Okay.
we'll. I feel like we believe God for spiritual things, but we don't believe God to be in our natural things. Like for instance,
Mhm.
like we'll believe God, for supernatural healing for our body, but we won't believe God to be to, like you said earlier, like you said, Nigel, to get into our creative processes, you know, and minister to somebody through our creativity. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
Yes,
God
sir.
can't use a rapper. God can't use an R&B singer. But God can heal. But God can heal you from cancer, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
It's like they trying to
Mm-hmm.
put him in a box. He's not. You can't put him in
Absolutely.
a box.
absolutely, you can't.
No.
You can't. So why can't it work? Why can't God work for this and work for that? You know, if we put him in it, you know, if we
If
choose
he's
to
really
put him,
God.
if he's
Okay.
if he's really God, and we put him in whatever, he'll work wherever we put him. Wherever we place him, he'll work. You know,
Absolutely.
but like, it's like we
Absolutely.
don't we don't
We
we
can't
don't we don't.
carry him in the box, you know.
No,
We
man,
really,
no.
but this is the box that we carry him in this temple. We
Right.
understand that, but we
Yes,
can't
sir.
put a complacement and a
Mm-mm.
confinement on the ability for him to move unless we go against his will.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
His
and we
will.
stagnate ourselves also. You know,
Talk to him,
like,
Gabe.
You said that was real.
yeah.
I was thinking on the lines of how I was when he mentioned the church and in general. I thought about how our fellow sisters and brothers uh like exclusiveness. Like they like to be exclusive. So whatever the gift is, as long as it can be ministered the way we do things here, and it's in this house, we good. But if it works for everybody else, we not. But that's not everywhere. But I do notice, me coming up in church, I do notice that like if it works for the way things are done in church and the world of church and the organizations and all this other stuff, if it works for them and it's not foreign or strange or something that's not already being done, um, they will accept it. But when it comes to a person deciding to be authentically who God called them to be, and ministering to people how God wants them to minister, because we do know God is God and God can move through every sound, um, any sound because He created it. I mean, hey, God is God. But so just saying all that to say that I'm so glad you said that, Nature Boy and Nigel, because it needs to be heard. It needs to be heard, not only heard but understood that God can move through any sound.
I
God, as
think
long
he
as His
made it real
message is being
simple
carried
when he
out.
said if the rocks can cry out to give those the rocks, something that is incapable of making it a sound unless you bang up on it, you know what I'm saying? But yet he said if the rocks cry out, and that's an enablement for a rock, who's gonna make that sound? Who's gonna make that declaration? It may not sound like everything that we're accustomed to, but the sound and the trumpet has to be displayed, it has to go forth and cause these souls to come to God.
Exactly. And you got people coming from different walks of life, bro. So the sound can't be the same. The sound has
Yes,
to be different
yes,
to reach the different people
yes,
coming in. And so
yes.
I think it's good you said that, Gabe. Like the kingdom consists of all different types of sounds. That's the beauty of it. And I feel like oftentimes when we try to put our stamp on it, we take God out of it totally, because what we be thinking God want to do and what we be thinking how God want to move is not how He want to move, or what He wants to do is far from. His thoughts is not our thoughts, nor His ways our ways. You feel me? So it's like, come on, like we just got to be open. I feel like we just got to be open vessels, and whatever God want to do, let God do it. And I feel like when we do that, listen, those that is intended to reach, it'll reach. But if we try to be
Absolutely.
anything else, it's not going to reach the people that God even wanted to reach. So we got to get us out the way, you know, and how we want to
Mm-hmm.
do things. And we just got to be
Mm-hmm.
more open,
Mm.
because I'm telling you, when you really start pressing in God, when you really start experiencing God, God will tell you to do some really like unusual things to the point that you question God, like, Lord, you sure you want me to do this? So, you know, like, I just think it's important that we just allow the Spirit of the Lord just to have his way through us however he decides to. I know for myself, like, I've always been different, you know. Kev always been different. I think that's one of the reasons why we really connected well, because it's like he didn't want to be in the box. I didn't want to be in the box. Like, I'm just like, I want God to come in and just do whatever he want to do, however he want to do it. So I like the fact that you can reach people outside of Christendom, you know, because that's important. Like, for real. Like, granted, we want to reach the people in the body, but it's really the people that's not in the body that we need to be able to reach. And the fact that your words, you know, your music, it extends beyond the four walls of the church. I feel like that's awesome, man, because you got some people, they reach don't extend that far. You feel me? Like, it really don't, but yours does, like, for real, hands down.
I think that's very important to extend that reach beyond those four walls. If we're really going to do the mission that God has called us to do. If we're going to do what God has called us to do, it extends beyond those walls. Those walls are important, they're vital. They hold a structure, system, a moral base code in your life. They're very important. We're not saying that we don't need it, we throw it all away. No, that's not it. We're saying let's bridge the gap between the essence that we receive at those four walls to be able to be displayed outside those four walls and really bridge the gap in between. Because if they don't do it like they do it there, or they don't do it like we do it here, then that causes a lot of confusion. But when you have a multitude of people who come from different backgrounds, different races, different creeds, different walks, different lifestyles, um, it's very important to be open-minded so that you can actually reach them. He said, through loving kindness have I drawn thee. So you have to be loving and kind. That means you have to open yourself up a little bit for the relationship to build with one another, and not structure it so well. If y'all doing it, I can't. That's all we're saying. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Not to
Can
go on a tangent.
oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Can I
Go
yeah,
ahead.
can I touch on what you were just saying though, Kev? That's all right.
Yes, sir.
Just I was just listening to you, and I was saying when you were saying that, I was saying that's the whole point. That's the whole point
Mm-hmm.
of what we gain, like you said, inside those four walls. That's the point of it. Because anybody that goes to the doctor does not go to the doctor when they're feeling well. You know, like, okay, you go for a checkup, but like you don't go for the doctor to see you and give you anything, or for him to check on you per se. If you're feeling well, if you fine, you ain't worry about going to the hospital or going to you don't need to, because you fine. You know what I mean? And I think we get so caught up in trying to reach each other, but if you have what I have, then what does it make sense, or does it even benefit me trying to reach you? But what about this man out here who's dealing with depression? You know what I mean? That don't
Mm.
know God.
Talk about it, bro.
You know
Oh.
what about him? I'm trying to uplift and minister to Kevin. You know, and I'm ministering to Kevin, and Kevin's ministering to me, but nobody's ministering to this guy here. You know what I'm saying? And so we miss what the actual assignment is, because the assignment is not within those four walls. And I feel like we get so stuck on that, and so we miss what we're actually supposed to be doing. We miss the assignment. Like the assignment is not amongst ourselves. We come together within those four walls to get strength. Okay, yeah, you boost me, I can boost you, in the spirit, and boost your continence, and you boost, and then when we leave here, now is when we start to fulfill the assignment. Now is when we can start to touch those lives that may not ever come into church, because like there's some people that just may not ever come. Like I remember being 13 years old, and I would go into the and I would go with some people from my neighborhood into the house where they were selling dope in the house, and I would have grown men selling dope in the house, crying and and all of these different things as we start to talk about spirituality. Like, but had I not gone into that house where those people were, nobody, no, who else was gonna reach them? Because they weren't coming to church. You know, they weren't going to step into the building where I was, so I had to go step into the building where they were. You know, but sometimes we get so caught up in us and in the church structure that we'll say, nah, I ain't messing with them. I ain't gonna go over there because they drinking or they selling dope. Nope, I ain't going. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, bro. But Jesus was seen with tax collectors and sinners. You feel me? He was in that marketplace, and they was doing everything in that market. They
Come
were
on,
prostituting. They was drinking. They
come
was
on.
smoking. I don't know if they were smoking back in them days. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying they was doing everything
Absolutely.
you can think of, and he didn't shun them. Like, he was seen amongst them. He was ministering to them. He was talking to them. He was building, relationships. And that's so important, because you're right. Everybody ain't coming to the church for real. Everybody will not come to the church, but we can go where they are, because, like Kevin said earlier, we are the church. We're the church. We carry the message, So I think that's important, bro. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Gabe, you got another question? Go ahead.
I have other questions. But as you all were talking, it's just a verse that kept ringing in my spirit. And I'm gonna share it with y'all so that everyone in the metaverse can hear this. 11:30. It says, "The fruit of the righteous is the tree of life, and he who winneth souls is wise." Our mission on this earth, after we've received salvation and righteousness, is to win souls. So how can we do that if we're boxed in to the people that come to the church because godliness? Like, we have to, you guys, you have to win souls. You have to win souls, and you have to figure out strategies to do so. Even if you're not an artist, if you are saved or if you're Christian, and you're trying to fulfill your purpose on life, your purpose on this earth. Well, we all know all of our purpose is to glorify God, to bring pleasure to His heart and fame to His name. And we all know bringing pleasure to God's heart is to have His people saved. So just keep that in mind. As we move forward, we're going to transition and begin asking more questions. But just to end that segment, remember that. Remember that. He who winneth souls is wise. The fruit of the righteous is the tree of life. Moving forward and moving on, you kind of already answered a lot of questions because it's like you just knew what we were going to. Well, you kind of had an idea. The next question I was going to ask you was who inspires you? Who inspires you? So now that I know who the one person is, I'm gonna take it a step further, because you are more than just one thing. We all know that. You are a producer, a rapper, a poet, and a singer. And probably more things. So on all of those avenues. So we all know the producer potentially is T-Pain, correct? Or would that be to consider your rapper? That is your inspiration.
I don't. You know what? I'll probably say T-Pain just off of creativity, and that's kind of what he inspires me. It's just creativity. Yeah.
So let's break down every component of you. His creativity, because he's just kind of like, that's the guy. So that's your
yeah. He just
that's your
creative.
top artist of all time.
Um.
So if
Yeah. Probably would say so.
So do you have a favorite rapper besides T-Pain?
Um, I have a few, and so I won't get into everybody. um,
Your number one, your the guy. Say for instance, if you had to get a feature for somebody you out besides T-Pain, because we all know you will T-Pain is your your top artist. Besides T-Pain, from a rapper, if you had to get a feature, like you ain't had to pay nothing. If you had the money to pay everything, but if you ain't had to pay a dime, and it's the number one person you always want to work with, who would that person be?
Oh man, that's a good one. That's a good one.
NatureBoyy, Trump. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you got me stumped, man. And I'm a talker. I'd probably say J. Cole. That's probably what I would say.
That's
Lyricism.
respect. That's respect.
I'd probably say J. Cole, yeah. Cause you know what? When I actually started rapping, like started switching my poems into yeah, into rhymes, he was kind of one of the people that I found first. Um, can I put two though? Can I put two, please?
Please go ahead.
Okay.
He's in first place. Who the second person? Who the second person?
Nah, I won't even say he'd be in first. These two people probably be tied. It'd be J. Cole and Big Crit. Those two. Yeah.
Familiar with. I've seen his work. I've seen him featured in a few songs that I've heard.
Dope,
but
man.
I'm not as familiar with Big Crit.
Dope. He's also a producer and he sings a little bit too. And he was a poet also, so it's a lot of
So it kind of got your vibe.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So as far as a producer, if you had one, you produce your own stuff, but if you had to have one person, say you were signed to a major label, because either you're gonna be extremely successful independently, or you will be signed. It's one of the two. So if you were signed to a major label, okay, so tell me who you want to produce on your album.
Oof.
A dream producer. Who would you want to have produce one of your songs, if not all?
Okay. Again, I gotta go with two in each category, probably. So my two would be Justice League. I'm a huge Justice League fan. And then Ninth Wonder would be the two. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Ninth Wonder definitely. Yeah.
Ninth is man.
Yeah, fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you had somebody that's singer to feature on one of your and like your dream feature now, who would it be?
Okay.
Any artist?
It's too many to name. Good God. Can I do 5 for this one? Just for the thing. I can do 5. All right, cool. All right, cool. So I would want Chandler Moore would be amazing.
Ooh, come through. Okay.
That's a local artist. That's what's up.
Chandler.
Okay.
I would want Kurt Franklin would be 2. And then her, the artist Her, I love her. I love her. John Legend and Alicia Keys.
Come through.
Yeah.
I like all
so you said, yeah, they're all really good. So you said Chandler Moore, Kirk, Gabby, which is her, John Legend, and Alicia Keys.
Yep. Yeah.
Those are really, really dope artists. That's really that just told what your styling is. You like smooth singing.
It's all
because the last half,
dude.
Smooth singing, soulful, smooth.
Yes, sir.
You got it. Okay, so good. So tell me this.
But see, that's that music that you can feel, though. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
That's that music that you can feel for real.
Yes, sir.
At a point in life, but then this latter half of what he's been doing recently, it's just different. It got something on it. It's just a little. I don't know what happened, but I love everything he do now. But yeah, definitely Gabby. I mean, well, her is amazing. Just
Amazing, man.
lyrically, vocally. I think she do
Yes,
some
sir.
producing and she
Yeah,
plays.
yeah.
So she's like
Crazy.
in a sense a genius, and it's almost like a projected that she was going to be what she is.
Yeah,
She
absolutely.
did. Yeah, when she was younger, when she was a little girl, y'all ever seen that interview? She
I
did
ain't seen it.
on Saturday. It's like Good Morning America.
Mm.
She played the piano, and I think she may have sang that day too, but she played the piano and she talked, and the way she was talking was like she was mad old, and she was
Yeah,
like 10 or 9.
Wow.
Um,
she's iconic, man. I think
yeah, she is.
people gonna miss it, like, but she is iconic. Like, it's the it's something there, like that Michael Jackson feel. I mean, and I don't do comparisons and stuff like that, but that Michael Jackson feel, like the way he made people feel, and like the I don't know, it was just the gravity of what his music was. I feel like that about her. I feel like she's our generation's that.
You probably offending a lot of people right now,
Probably
brother.
so.
You
Probably
probably
so.
would be offending a lot of people. You got to think
I
how
would
many
I would go with
generations though.
Prince.
Yeah.
I would go with Prince for her. Like
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I would say she's our modern day Prince, what we would call what we would say Prince. But I respect what you said. I mean, but I would say Prince for her.
Yeah.
But
I can see it. I can see it. No. 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 I can see
because
that. I can see
she was mad. Like he gave Mystique as well as she gives Mystique.
Yeah.
She played a lot of instruments, if not
Instruments.
all. She sings. She's mad soulful. So
Yeah.
to me, she's kind of reminiscent of
Of
Prince.
Prince. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see
So
that.
we do we
I can
do
see that.
we don't have to hurry along, but we do have to move. We said a whole lot.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do some rapid fire questions. So what we didn't ask you was where you from? Where are you from, Nature Boy?
Okay. I'm from a small town in called Orlando, South Carolina. So PG.
So that's Florence County, right?
Florence County. Yep. Florence County.
Yeah, I've been there. I had to go throughout the whole county doing
Oh
some work
man.
with my job. So I was like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know this was a part of that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are from Atlanta, right?
Uh-huh.
Atlanta. Okay, and you are 24, soon to be 25.
Yes, sir.
And your name is,
Quentin
besides Nature Boy?
Quentin McKenzie.
You are Nature Boy. That is your
Yes, sir.
artist name. That's what you go by.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So did you feel like music was your thing?
Oof, 12 years old. 12. Around 12.
And what was the moment? What was that moment that you was like, okay, I really like this really feel like what I should do?
Um, so at 12, I used to write songs, and it would be like worship songs. And I'm actually a worship leader at my church too. So but I would write worship songs, and I would just be like around the house, just actually I wouldn't write them. I would just be singing, like making up lyrics and just singing worship songs around my house. And I was like, oh, this feels amazing. Like, oh, this feels cool. And then when I started writing poems and stuff, I was 12. During that time, I was started writing poems and stuff, and I started putting my poems to music. And so when I heard myself back after I started recording little things on my computer, I was like, I just kind of felt like, when you find something that you was like, okay, this is my thing. Like I can't play basketball. I'm not that good. I'm not that coordinated. I was pretty decent in football. But when it start time to put on pads and, like, you know, get out there with guys who was twice my size, I wasn't feeling it. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
But
I can relate.
yeah, but this is
I
my
can
thing.
relate.
So it was just kind of, I felt like I found my thing. Yeah. So it's around
Okay.
12. Yep.
Okay. So it was around 12. Okay. All right. Man. So I wanna go back. I'm gonna take it back to last night. I actually heard got a chance to listen to on one of your songs, and what's weird about what you said earlier was your intention was carried through, and Kevin's my witness. I said this got something on it.
Uh,
And the fact that your intention behind your music, and that is very important to people. What you intend will transfer. So
yes,
be
sir.
careful on what you listen to, because sometimes people are in a dark place. Not you. I'm talking about the world. When I say be careful, when I'm
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
speaking like
Yes, sir.
that, I'm talking about everybody. But you can people in if they're in a dark place and they write the song and they sing it in a dark place, when you listen to it, it's gonna affect you just like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you notice,
Absolutely.
most people who are sad or broken up with someone or depressed tend to listen to very, very sad music.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps them there. It don't help them. Like you would think
Nope.
that I'm sad. Let me listen to something super happy. Let me put on Pharrell because I'm happy. Clap along. Like they don't do that. They just go straight to something mad sad. So saying all that to say, there is
Be
intention
mindful.
behind people when they
Yes,
write.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Make sure
be
your motives
cognizant
are
of that.
pure.
Right.
Yeah,
Make sure your motives are
motives.
pure. Make sure your
Yes.
motives are pure. But anyway, back to what I was saying earlier. I felt what your intention was. I said something honest because it was just so the first few seconds of the song I was captured. And it was like,
Wow.
okay, I want to keep listening because this is good.
Wow. Wow.
So, I just want to, I know Nigel spoke about it yesterday as well. Well, yesterday, you know, your music
So,
really
so
does have
Nature Boy,
something.
where they can find some
Thank
of
you,
that
sir.
music
Thank you.
at, though, man?
Thank you.
Where they can find that at?
So I have the single right now called Back and Forth. It's on all major streaming platforms.
Okay,
It's also
back and
on
forth. Go check it out,
yes
guys.
sir, yes sir. It's also on iTunes.
Nature
And
Boy.
it's on all of the social media platforms also. So
Okay,
that's been moving and doing pretty well. And then we
absolutely.
have we're gonna have an EP coming either end of December or
Mm-hmm.
the beginning of the year, maybe January, February. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to be called Sooner Rather Than Later. So
Okay.
be on the lookout for that also.
Well, let them know where you'll be at so that they can check out some of this
Yes,
listening. You
sir.
know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So tomorrow, not tomorrow, Saturday. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Saturday,
Too
Saturday,
excited.
Saturday at 6:30. We'll be at Common Ground at the coffee house. In Myrtle Beach, South
Okay.
Carolina. Fresh Brew Coffee House. Um, October 30th. October 30th, this Saturday, at 6:30, we'll be there. You get to hear some of the songs off the upcoming EP. And I'll also be performing the single Back and Forth. So come out, man, come out and listen to us and vibe to some good music. Open mic, it's open mic for all the artists also. So any artists that want to come and perform, come through. And use this opportunity, man, because one thing that I have loved is that when I came the first time. I wasn't even a featured artist. I just came to perform, and the warmth, and the hospitality that Kevin showed. I mean, like he set me up to do the podcast. He set me up as a featured artist. Like he really opened his arms to me, and I feel like a lot of times, we as artists, especially here, because there's a lot of talented artists in South Carolina, man. There's a lot of talented artists in South Carolina, but I feel like a lot of times we don't have those people willing to open up their arms and really and to lend their resources and lend a helping hand to help us. And so this is a place where I promise you, if you put in the work, if you put in the work, and if your music is really is if you put your heart and soul into it, I promise you that this is a place where you'll feel loved and appreciated, as far as from an artist perspective. So yeah, so come out, artists come out and open mic, and like I said, we'll be there performing a few songs off of the EP and the single also. So Fresh Brew Coffee House, Saturday, October the 30th at 6:30.
We can find you on social media.
Okay. I'm on all social media. Well, nope. I'm on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok at official Nature Boy, and then I'm on Facebook as Alistair McKenzie. It's my Facebook, so you can find me there, and just keep a lookout on for stuff we got going on. We have a couple videos coming up soon too, so just keep a lookout. Keep a lookout. We got some dope stuff coming.
You guys have heard it here first. Nature Boy in the house tonight. He's definitely on the move. He's putting in the work. He's putting in all of the efforts that he needs to become a successful artist. I do believe that this is going to be one of the greats. He is one of the greats right now as we speak here up under this umbrella of common ground. We thank you, boy. I'm telling you, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to October the 30th.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
can't wait.
I'm
Now, do you
excited.
got anything you want to talk to the people about? Let's talk about that podcast. Where they can find you at?
Apple. You can find me on Spotify, of course. I'm going through a relaunch. I'm looking to relaunch actually the beginning part of the year, next year. Probably within 2 weeks, my radio station going to be launching. So I'm excited. So Natureboyy, man, I need to get
Without the bag, baby.
we gotta spend it for real. But I got a question for him though. I mean, I know of course time is definitely pressing, but I wanted to know what was the inspiration of, like, behind the cover art of your single, like.
That's a cool question, and the reason that's a cool question is because that was kind of a makeshift do-it-yourself type of thing.
Okay.
So it's cool that you know, it kind of, I guess it kind of spoke to you enough to ask about it, which is cool. But the song for me was about how a lot of times we end up in situations in relationships and there's no communication.
Ooh.
You know, like lack of communication in a relationship is awful. And so sometimes when you end up in that situation, you know, you don't really know where it's going. And if you're a person like I am, who's like super introspective, then so many things start to go through your head that, you know, about what it is or what it's not, or, you know, let's talk about it, figure out what it is. And then you just kind of start to dwell on those things. And so that was my mindset for a while in that relationship. My mindset was just, you know, it was kind of a spiraling thing. And that's how I felt. I felt like, you know, I was going back and forth, literally all in my mind, just going back and forth about, you know, about what this relationship was, or was it beneficial, or was it healthy, or was, you know, just all of those things. And so the cover art, I wanted it to feel that way, which is why the girl was on the swing, which is why I had the girl on the swing to represent what my mind felt like at that time. And the beach of it was, it's almost kind of like when you dwell on a thing and your thoughts are so like tumultuous, but you still feel that peace to a sense. And so the swing represent how I was going in my mind, how I was toiling in my mind, and then the beach part of the cover art represent the peace of it all. So I was in a tumultuous place, but I was also in a peaceful place too. Which it sounds very oxymoronic, but you know.
Nah, it sounds like balance though to me. You know, whenever you listen, you know, that's a balance.
It was, and because we are where we are, and we are who we are, God was what gave me that peace. So that peace that I had came from God, but the rest of it, you know, was just me trying to figure some things out, you know. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. So that's what the cover art was, and that's what represented.
That's dope, man. I'm glad you explained that, because oftentimes we may not think also that the cover art matters, but it does. It does. And I've had some people ask me, was like, what was the inspiration about his cover art? Like people that I had listening to it. And I'm like, I'm gonna ask him that question, because I definitely want him to speak on that. So that's dope, man. I love how Kevin said the balance. You know, it was chaotic, but then it was peaceful. You know, like that's good.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, guys, we are getting ready to end this broadcast at this time period. If you don't know where to be at this Saturday, let me drop it on you real quick. Like October the 30th, please join us. Common Ground at the Fresh Brew Coffee House, 933 Broadway Street, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You're gonna hear so much flavor in your ear from Natureboyy. We got other people's coming through. You never know. It might be something real special that happens and pops off, but I guarantee you're going to leave inspired, you're going to leave motivated, and you're going to leave dedicated to do what it is that you need to do in this land of common ground. And once again, we're growing up.
One mic at a time.
Thank you so much. That's right. We're growing up, baby. I'm out.